One of the greatest benefits of going online is the possibility of reaching new clients, and one critical element is owning a domain name. Experts in the DNS industry believe that the more Nigerians adopt .ng, the better for the economy in general. Kemi Adepoju, Head of Business Development, Nigeria Internet Registration Association, joins us to discuss ways to get more Nigerians on the internet.
Can you highlight some of the benefits of using .ng?
The various benefits. The first benefit, before I talk about benefits, you have to understand why do you want to use a ccTLD, or why do you want to use, what type of domain name to use really. And the type of domain name you want to use is really dependent on the type of business you are and the location you have. So part of the benefits of using the .ng domain name is that it helps in terms of geotargeting. And what do I mean by geotargeting? When I'm looking to buy something, maybe a telephone or a camera, the first thing I go to my search engine, if I don't really know the website I want to go to. And I key in what I want to buy. And the search engine brings results for me. The ways the search engine generates its results is something called geotargeting, another search engine optimization. Basically, geotargeting is when it delivers the content that is relevant to your location to you. So if you're generating content that is meant for Nigeria, for instance, there is high benefit in using the .ng name because it delivers it to the people searching within Nigeria. Another benefit is that if someone internationally is searching for your content from an international country, it would also deliver the content to them because it's going to deliver content that are relevant to their search. One of the things people are always skeptical about is in terms of identifying themselves with being a Nigerian brand. But the truth about it is that when they go to your contact us page, they already know you're a Nigerian brand. Another benefit of using the .ng domain name is that you actually use less bandwidth, especially if you're located if your domain is hosted in Nigeria. So for instance, if your site is very text heavy, very graphic heavy, and you want people to be able to search and locate your content very easily, the best thing to do is to host in Nigeria and also use the .ng domain name because then they use less bandwidth. So basically, they're using less internet to get your content. People notice it as well because it makes it faster for your content to download on their devices. Another benefit is that with the creation of ccTLDs, even though ccTLDs don't have the first user advantage like some gTLDs, with the creation of ccTLDs, what happens is that you have more names. So a name you might not be able to get, like a 3-letter word, there's absolutely no 3-letter words that have not been registered, that you might want to get with a .com that might come at a premium price. It might be cheaper for you to get with a .ng because the name would be available under the .ng string.
So Kemi, I've heard you mention a number of acronyms. Can you explain the difference between the ccTLD and a gTLD?
Okay, so first of all, the ccTLD means country code top level domain. Take note of the country code, which is the CC at the beginning of the ccTLD. Whereas the gTLD means generic top level domain. And what is the difference? Country code top level domains are specific to country, whereas generic are like your .coms, your .org, your .net, your .africa, those are generic domain names.
Okay, so now, but are you satisfied with the level of adoption of .ng in Nigeria today?
To be honest, not really. And I don't know whether I should blame it on Nigerians not being as patriotic as they should be, or maybe the policies are not really encouraging the uptake of .ng. But I think the figures can be better considering the population and the number of users we have online and on social media.
Yes, 90 million users. Don't you think that, okay, so what do you think we need to do to ensure that we increase the numbers?
Okay, first of all, we need to put policies in place. You notice that, if you look at the domain name history, the top 5 domain names tend to be countries that have put policies in place to encourage the uptake of domain names. We have to put policies in place. We have to ensure that people are encouraged through our policies to take up the domain names. And part of the ways to do it is, for instance, with CSC, when you register your company name online, there should be a synergy whereby as you're registering your company name, you're registering your domain name so that you have the two together. So the country is encouraging its citizens to be online, it's encouraging businesses to be online. And the benefit of that to the government is that they can even use it as a tax drive. You know, if you know the people online, for instance, through the WUIS page, it's easy for you to track the people paying tax and people that are not paying tax. So it's a benefit to both the citizens and the government. And it's also a benefit to us as people because then we are able to show the world our content. We're able to show the world what Nigeria is doing.
I like the fact that you mentioned content, local content. Do you think that .ng can in any way encourage more quality local content?
We are doing that, by being .ng, we're already encouraging local content. By offering the .ng domain name, we're already encouraging local content. Because what happens is that if you take a Nigerian content and you put it on a generic top-level domain, for instance, what you have is that the domain name is not recognized as a Nigerian content. Whereas if you put it on a .ng domain name, it's automatically recognized as a Nigerian content. So we're already doing that. Another thing we are doing is that we tend to create what we call the e-newsletter, which we send to journalists. It's published in papers, it's also published on blogs. So we're trying to encourage people to do more. Another thing we do is that we do the .ng awards, which we do annually. And we do that to, maybe like encourage those using the .ng domain names. We want people to talk about what they're doing. We want people to see what they're doing. We want people to engage with what they're doing. So we do the .ng awards that is open to everyone using the .ng domain name, and it's absolutely free. It's basically based on the type of business you're doing.
One of the complaints people share, especially online, is that they claim that, or they tell you that .com is cheaper than .ng. What do you have to say about that?
I always say you must always compare like for like. You must, just like if you're comparing a car, I would not take a Bentley and compare it with a Volkswagen. It just doesn't, it doesn't match. There's no synergy in that. They are both a car. They will both take you from point A to point B, but they are different. And what is the difference? The premium, the difference. So if you are comparing the .com, you have to also compare the .com with the .com.ng. And if you compare the two of them, you find the .com.ng is at least 60% cheaper than the .com. Whereas if you take the .ng is a more premium domain. You have to compare it with another CCTLD. For instance, South Africa. As a matter of fact, South Africa did not open their .za domain name, so you have to register the .co.za. So you have to compare that .ng with another CCTLD offering that exact same string. So that's why I always say you have to compare like for like.
Okay, so Kemi, you studied computer engineering and you're a woman in tech, so to speak. What do you think we can do to ensure we get more women to get into the .ng ecosystem?
I think as a nation, we have to make it relevant to them. So if you notice, if you look at the ecosystem of industries women are in, you'll find that women tend to be more in the commercial sectors or in the medical sectors. You find more women there. So what we need to do is to make it relevant to them. For instance, in terms of the commercial sectors, they can come in as resellers, they can come in as accredited registrars. They are still within the technical industry, but they're doing it with what they are skilled at in terms of commerce. They're skilled at commerce. And for instance, with the reseller program, there's no barrier to entry. So it's really easy for a woman to come and say, okay, I don't want to dip all my legs into it because I'm not sure of the business. I don't quite understand how it works, but how can I get myself more involved in it? So they come in under any of NERA accredited registrars around the world, and then they can become resellers. And then when they get used to the business, they can now decide that, okay, I'm used to it now. I want to be an accredited registrar, and then become an accredited registrar. Another thing to do, women know how to create value. They always say, give a woman something, she multiplies it. They create value, basically. So how can we create value in this industry? We can buy domain names, and I know women that are already in that industry, they are doing that. They buy domain names, they create value for it, and then they sell it off. They sell it to international brands. So you buy a domain name for, let's say, 1,500, and then you sell it for thousands of dollars. And people are doing it. It's not something I'm bringing up from the top of my head. People are actually doing it. So they buy a domain name, they create value for it, and then they sell it off. So that's another aspect women can come in through. And various other aspects, like for instance, they can decide to offer trainings. They can come to us and say they want to be more involved. How can they be more involved? Maybe it's, we like to sensitize and encourage the general public about the .ng domain name, so they can be more involved with us.
All right, Kemi, let's hope more Nigerians adopt .ng. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me.
My guest has been Kemi Adepoju, Head Business Development, Nigeria Internet Registration Association, the organization that manages our national domain on the internet. I am of the opinion that government and its agencies should be at the forefront of those championing the adoption of .ng. The worrisome situation today where majority of our civil servants, including those who work for security agencies, use free email accounts for regular and sensitive national activities should stop. No other forward-looking nation will allow this to continue in today's complex world. My take is that Nigerians should be glad and proud to fly.ng online because it's our national brand. That's our show for today. Please follow us on social media, and don't forget you can watch the entire show on the Channels TV YouTube account or via cfablog.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwemeka Agbata.